Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Canadian Football Central, CFL content for the fans, by the fans, and we have our Week 11 review coming right up. We have a lot of good football to review, to chat about. However, Rick...
And yes, Carter, say it. Come on, get it out. Let's hear it.
I finally went 4-0 in my pick'ems. Finally. I swept a week. I have been waiting all season for this. I needed it. Rick goes 2-2. I go 4-0.
Hold the
3-1? Do you go 3-1?
Oh, no.
You go 2-2,
right? I went
right?
2-2.
Because there's two games where we chose a different guy, and I went 4-0.
Yeah.
So I go 4-0. Rick goes 2-2. I very much needed this. I'm very glad. I'm now back in the positive.
I still have the better record.
But I'm back in the positives, baby, and then we're close.
You're 3 over 500.
And what are you?
You're 23-20-1, and I'm 25-18-1. So you're 3 games over 500.
Okay, well you're only 2 games ahead of me. That's a catchable distance. That's not a command. It's not a command.
We got some interesting games coming up, but we'll save that for the preview.
Fair, that is true. But we're gonna start with a bit of an interesting one. The Ottawa Redblacks, in a walk-off field goal, defeat the Calgary Stampeders on the Thursday night game by a score of 31-29. Okay, Rick, how do we feel about this one? This game definitely started with a bang. Freaking
Jeremiah Mazzoli,
27 points in the first quarter, with a lot of good stuff here. Seriously.
So are we going to start with the Jeremiah Mazzoli with 254 yards? Armstead with 120.
254 yards, an average of 7.3 yards per attempt. He went 27 for 35 with a touchdown and no interceptions. Good game for Jeremiah Mazzoli. Very good that he goes a whole game, no picks, no nothing like that, and no injuries for Jeremiah Mazzoli. He goes a whole game without falling to the turf. So good on him. Jalen Acklin leading the receiving corps, 94 receiving yards on 6 receptions. Braylon Addison behind at 55, then Armstead at 44. Armstead, though, 11 rushes, 120 rushing yards for Armstead. So a fantastic game by Armstead. Seriously, incredible stuff. He picks himself a touchdown, an average of 10.9 yards per rush. There is nothing more you can ask from a running back, seriously. Just some good stuff there. Lewis Gaward, 3 for 3, longest 51 yards. Obviously got the game winner for the field goal, so very much good performance there. And if we're looking just kind of to wrap up the Ottawa side of things, at least from the stats perspective, top tacklers of the game there for Ottawa are Webb with 7 tackles, followed by Pickett with 6. 5 tackles for Lamont, 4 for Dandridge and Aday, and then 1 sack for Wakefield for the Ottawa Redblacks. That is their defensive performers. How did you feel about this game before I get into the Stampeder side of things?
Just FYI, Malden had a forced fumble. Griffin had the forced fumble, and Malden had the fumble recovery.
Oh, okay. It sometimes shows on this one, but sometimes does not.
Did you say, how did I feel about this?
Yeah, how did you feel about this?
Well, considering, let's just take a look at the Calgary side. Calgary, Jake Miller had 269. No touchdowns, no interceptions.
24 32.
Tommy Stevens had 3 rushing touchdowns. So if you're wondering where they got their points, it's from good old Tommy Stevens.
In the short yardage, being able to get that done. Jake Mayer, 269 receiving yards, or throwing yards, as you said. An average of 8-point throw on yards per attempt. And so he would go 24 for 32, so a decent percentage there for completions. Reggie Beggleton leading the charge in the receiving corps, 4 receptions, 92 yards. Hyman with 75, followed by Jalen Philpott with 28, and then Mitchell with 21 behind him. On the kicking side of things, Rene Paredes makes up for his missed field goal the week prior, goes 2 for 2 with as long as a 48, so good performance by Rene Paredes there. If we're going on to the defensive side of things for Calgary, top tacklers of the game here, Demario Houston leading the charge with 7 tackles in the secondary there. Sanders with 6, followed by Cameron Judge with 5. Robertson and Williams both with 4 apiece. 1 sack for Rose, 1 for Reed. And I don't see any forced fumbles or fumble recoveries here on the Calgary side of
Zippo
things.
and Zippo.
So overall here, though, this is a great example of Ottawa, just a bit of the kind of that slow and steady wins the race, being able to put up some decently consistent numbers. 13 points in that first quarter, 8 in the second quarter, 7 in the third quarter. Drops a little bit down, only picks up a field goal in the fourth quarter, but that field goal is going to be enough as it gets them the win. So, how do you feel, Rick? Is there anything else that we're kind of missing here that you think is really important?
So the only thing that I was gonna mention is with Calgary losing this game, that puts them as there's gonna be another game that comes in, but this kind of puts them in the basement looking out.
This is
because there's another team that also. Either team on both sides of them won this week.
That is right. And because with Calgary losing this game, this gave the opportunity for Winnipeg, if they were able to win against BC, the opportunity to pass Calgary in the standings by tying with them. Winnipeg obviously holds the tiebreaker against Calgary as they've played all their games against each other this year. Winnipeg going for a 2-point conversion in one of those games, being able to pick up a point lead over the Stamps for that reason. But yeah, overall, good game. Glad to see Jeremiah Mazzoli back, able to keep him healthy. Good game for Armstead, and great kick by Lewis Ward.
Who would have thought we're almost at like the halfway point already?
Almost at that. I think we are at the halfway point.
Oh, we are at the halfway point.
I was about to say almost there. We are there. Yeah, no, we're halfway through the CFL season. It has been a crazy season. It feels like it's flying by because time flies by when you're having fun. Love watching some good Canadian football. What do you mean, oh, please? What you, oh, please me? Anyways, Friday game, the Montreal Alouettes defeat the Saskatchewan Roughriders by a score of 27-24. And there is one big, fat elephant in the room.
There's actually two elephants in the room.
There's two. Can I start with
technically one? Four if you go by my watch.
I'm going to start with the first one. So we have to talk about Brett Lothar. Oh, my God. 3 for 7 on kicks. Yikes. So first quarter, he would miss a 30-yard field goal, grab a single. So really short kick, doesn't hit it. Second quarter, he hits one for 13. He hits one for 35. Third quarter, he hits one for 42. This is where his luck runs out once again. If we go down, or I don't have all of his misses in here. That's the only one that he got the single on. That's why I'm missing some.
And he missed a 48 with 4 seconds left.
Yep, there was that one. Yeah.
And then there was, I gotta find it, because there was an important one.
I mean, that was an important one there. 48.
Oh no, there was an important one. Fourth quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, Lothar misses a 38. Letcher returns a 128-yard return for the touchdown.
That's right, missed field goal touchdown. I forgot about that. That Letcher would return this 128 yards. My God, some crazy stuff. And now keep in mind, 128 yards. Just for context, people, the length of the field was 110 plus 20-yard end zones. This is not taking into account lateral distance. So that is 128 yards going straight. Obviously, he doesn't run in a straight line. He's got to move left or he's got to move right. So he's actually running longer than 128 yards in terms of just pure distance. So an incredible run there by Letcher. I completely forgot about that. There's been so much crazy shit that's happened this week.
Oh, Carter, it gets even worse. So we've mentioned the 3 missed field goals. We've mentioned that one there.
Yep.
You ready for the controversy play?
Oh, boy.
Because depending on how you look at it, there's different views out there. You can find them out. Half the people say he was out of bounds, Alexander, when he was running. Half the people say that he wasn't. On top of it, 3 Saskatchewan players that missed tackles to even try to stop him from getting the touchdown. The command center would review it, and they would classify it as a touchdown.
Rick, what is your opinion on this? Just because I remember you were... Rick, I took a little bit of a look into it. I know you looked a lot more into this, so I want to know kind of your 2 cents.
So, depends on which view you look at. There's some views out there that shows him not out of bounds. There's some views out there that where he was in bounds or out of bounds. So, I mean, the command center is trying to play it where they don't get, like, they're not too involved because they're trying to cut back on how involved. So they will, apparently, from what I heard yesterday during the Winnipeg BC game, is that they will only get involved if it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, if there's an opportunity for them to kind of inform a coach on something that they maybe don't realize when they go to initiate a challenge that can prevent the challenge from happening, they will do that. As we will get to the Winnipeg game, something happens in that game.
Besides that, Davis Alexander had 285 yards, 1 touchdown, 33 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. Trevor Harris, first game back, my friends. Congrats. Went 31 for 39. 355 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Damn. This kind of number Saskatchewan needs.
AJ Ouellette returned to his ways, where he had 18 carries for 77 yards, an average of 4.3. Carter, let me ask you this as a Bombers fan. This is the second time I've seen this guy lead in yards. Before this year, have you ever heard of Deontay Myers?
Myers, I have heard of him. I did not know much about
this.
Him.
Is his second game that he's had over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah.
Making a name for himself without those big name players in the lineup.
And that's good. That's exactly what they need. It's one of those things when guys like Schaefer Baker are out, who's kind of been a bit of that spearhead of the Riders receiving core in terms of just kind of consistently, like in the sense of there's guys that have kind of come, there's guys who have kind of go. So he's been kind of that consistent top guy with the receiving core. So definitely a good performance for Myers. One definitely needed. We already went through Brett Lothar and all the problems there. Again, it's one of those things at the end of the day, kicking is one position of many. There are many positions where mistakes can be made, but when your kicker goes for 3 for 7, it is just going to be noticeable. If we're going on to the defensive side of things for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, top tacklers of the game, Carney, Malik Carney he would have 6 tackles and 2 sacks. Then Thurman would have 6 tackles and 1 sack. Henderson with 5 tackles. And then Revis with 4 tackles and 1 sack. No forced fumbles, no fumble recoveries here for Saskatchewan on the Alouette side of things. Sutton and Leon would both have 7 tackles. 6 tackles for Darnell Sankey, 5 for Cosby, 4 for Decoy, Ruffin, and Ento. And there would be no sacks, no interceptions, and no forced fumble recoveries. So good on Saskatchewan for holding on to that ball and not throwing any picks there for Trevor Harris.
So going by CFL.ca, CJ Rivas actually had a forced fumble, and Amari Henderson had the fumble recovery.
Oh, okay. No, well,
but, I mean, other than that,
then my thing does not have that. Whoops. Sometimes that happens.
And
that's all right.
Interesting story. I did not know this actually happened because everyone that I seen on social media was trying to say, Brett Lothar, make sure you have security, leaving the stadium, by your house. I did not know the story about the BC kicker. Do you remember the old story about the BC kicker?
I'm trying to remember.
I think it was correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. I'm pretty sure it was Paul McCallum. People went to go put manure on his front lawns, and it was the wrong house.
Didn't AJ Allen tell us a story about a rider kicker who someone like burned his lawn or did something like that? When we
Something like that, but
I'd have to rewatch the podcast we did with
AJ
with AJ Allen. AJ Allen, great guy. Watch that podcast. It was a freaking awesome podcast that we did. It was one of my probably one of my favorite ones that we've done. Just an excellent show. And so make sure to check that out. But yeah, no, it was something like that. Definitely a bit of a tough crowd when it comes to Saskatchewan. When you're winning, they'll love you like nothing on God's green earth. But when you lose, they will.
You'll hear about it.
You will hear it. They will not hold back. That is for sure. So hopefully Brett Lother's lawn is okay and does not have shit all over it. As we generally try to hope for such things. But all in all, Montreal, again, just continuing that dominance. Saskatchewan being able to be first in the West with a 5-4-1 record. As the West is completely becoming unglued, as we would see later in this weekend. But overall, good performance. And let's get it done. Is there anything else you got there, Rick?
No, sir.
All right, well, then that will get into our third game of the week.
The dumpster fire of the week.
Edmonton Elks defeat the Hamilton Tiger Cats by a score of 47-22.
AKA the final game of the Mark Washington era.
It turns out giving up 47 points to the Elks was the straw,
that broke the camel's back?
Broke the camel's back. 25 points by the Elks in the second quarter alone.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Luther Hakunavanu. Yeah. Got injured first play of the game.
I hope
they brought an ambulance out because in Hamilton we don't have those golf carts. We have ambulances. And then on top of it, they had to wait 10-15 minutes for a second ambulance to come by because you have to have an ambulance at the game. So the players went to their locker rooms and then they came and warmed up, so forth. So we thought, okay, it's fresh start, one play. No. It just got worse and worse. So after Morgan had the hit on Luther, then I'm trying to see where it was.
Let's say Mr. Taylor Powell.
Oh.
Does not last long.
Oh, yeah.
Goes
so
2
this
for
is
3, gets one.
I think this was
17 yards on a single rush, and that is all he lasts.
This was the 6 minute and 21 second mark of the first quarter. Again, he went to go rush for 17 yards. Depending on who you talk to, some people say it was a clean hit. Some people said there should have been a penalty because of the hit on helmet. It should have been unnecessary roughness at the least. On top of it, I'm curious to see if he's going to get a fine or a suspension. But
it's also one of those things I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a fine or suspension is, as we've seen in both the CFL as well as the NHL, whether you think this is right or wrong, a lot of times the punishment for the player can be determined on if the other guy gets injured, which is kind of dumb in the sense of that you should punish the action, not the consequence, as it's one of those things where it's like if a guy intentionally, like for example, if a guy goes with a flying elbow and hits a guy in the head, whether that guy gets up immediately or whether that guy doesn't get up immediately, you should punish it the same, just as, it's one of those things where the potential for injury is the same as can be the same as the injury itself in that regard. And if you're not punishing the action, even if it has no consequences, it still could later on if that play happens again. But all in all, rough night for Taylor Powell. He would go out. So Bo Levi Mitchell forced to go in. He would go 8.6 yards on average. He would throw 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, 23 for 34 for, again, 294 yards. Bell would rush for 85 on 12 rushes. Average is 7.1. He got himself a touchdown. Good stuff for him. Shamar Bridges hits the 100-yard mark once again. 7 receptions, 1 touchdown, and as well as a receiving touchdown for Bell.
I was just going to say, don't forget Bell's.
I was going for rushing stats, and then I was going through receiving stats.
But, again, this goes back to our head-to-head, Wilson versus Bridges. Wilson needs to step up his game now because Bridges is coming for him for that Rookie of the Year.
We will see, my friends.
We shall see.
We shall see.
But I had some choice words for Milanovic after this game. Because, once again, those people who know me, I don't hold back. And when you have 11 penalties for 100 stupid yards, and then Milanovic says all week, don't worry, we're going to be disciplined. We're not going to be working on we're going to be not turning over the ball or anything. My big fat patootie. Not that I have one, but I don't give a darn of what he says anymore.
So here's my question. Is it lack of discipline? Is that what it is? Is that
I want to say
in the sense of do you feel that it is Scott Milanovic not being like, okay, if you're taking these dumb penalties, then you're losing field time, or if you take these dumb penalties, we're going to give someone else the starting job, and maybe you go in after a bit if he's not doing well, or like I don't know.
Here's my thing is after last week's game, when not this past week but the week before, Jordan Murray got ejected for 2 objectable contact penalties.
Rejectable conduct.
I would have sat his behind down and said, listen, you're being a bloody selfish player. This is not our culture. You're going to sit out this game against Montreal, and I would rather dress 2 rookies who were holding the fort down while Murray was out. What does Milanovic do? This guy who gets kicked out of the game and 2 penalties the week before, let's start him at left tackle. And what happens? More penalties from the same person.
Yeah, it's been a rough time here for Scott Milanovic.
And to add on top of it,
looking great for him.
Javon Leake was in for 5 rushes, 12 yards, 1 touchdown. He got injured. But the question is, did anyone know who Justin Rankin was after he got 17 carries, 108 yards, 3 touchdowns?
To be fair,
my question is, what happens to Kevin Brown when he returns? Because Rankin
he's right now getting buried by Leake and Rankin. It's one of those things where if Edmonton is smart, I think you look at possibly moving Brown, and you look at the guys that you can bring in, and you roll with Leake and you roll with Rankin, as Rankin has played a bit these past few games, and he's gone in for a few reps when Javon Leake was not taking them, and it's gone very, very well for him. And so I think that's a very, very good 1-2 punch for your running game. Looking at some of the other stats here for Hamilton, though, finishing up, and then I'll get on to the Elks here. Mark Leggio goes 1 for 1 for a 32-yard kick, as well as he gets the extra point on the touchdown earlier. Top tacklers of the game for the Ticats, Thomas with 4 tackles, 1 sack. And then 4 tackles for Wilson, as well as Leonard. And then 4 for Jamal Peters. Katsantonis, 3 tackles and 1 sack. And then I don't see any interceptions, fumbles, or fumble recoveries. Unless I'm missing something.
Zippos.
Moving on to the Elk side of things, McLeod Bethel-Thompson goes 15 for 23, 234 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 10.2 yards on average. Passing. Rankin, 17 rushes, 108 yards, average of 6.4. He grabs 3 touchdowns with his longest rush at 40 yards. On the receiving side of things, Eugene Lewis being able to be a key contributor here for the Elks. 5 receptions, 93 yards for him. And my goodness, Herji Mayala still keeping it going. Only 1 reception, gets 44 yards out of that. Definitely needs to get some more targets there. Definitely a very capable young receiver they have there in Edmonton. Curly Gittens Jr. grabs himself a touchdown, as well as Mitchell on the receiving end of things. And as well, I forgot to mention that Javon Leake on the rushing side of things grabs himself a touchdown too. Boris Beatty goes 1 for 1 on field goals, 6 extra points with the longest field goal of 32 yards. It was only 1 though, so fair enough. And then on the defensive side of things, top tacklers of the game here for the Edmonton Elks, Morgan, Gray, and Anderson, all with 6 tackles each. Anderson, though, also gets a fumble recovery. And then Purifoy, O'Neill Jr., Moncrief, all with 5 actually, sorry, I was about to say they all have 5 tackles. They did, with the exception of Moncrief with 4 tackles. And then 1 interception for Brown. And then 1 interception for Taylor, as well as a fumble recovery for Taylor. And then a forced fumble by Jackson. So,
FYI, those interceptions are on Moncrief and Jackson. And Jackson also has the forced fumble recovery, so does Anderson. And then Branton and DeBlanco.
There you go.
Had the forced fumbles.
Oh, I see. Okay, well,
but
good stuff there.
Instead of getting into the Chris Jones news, I will save that, in my opinion, for the preview.
Yeah, so, a lot of stuff that Chris Jones. A lot of fun conversations we'll have in that regard. If you want to know a little bit of our opinions on Chris Jones, you should check out our video when the Edmonton Elks fired Chris Jones. Video did very, very well. Really appreciate all of your guys' support. It was a good video that we put up. Although it will be a little bit different now that he will be a defensive coordinator in Mark Washington's place and not a head coach. So, big win for the Edmonton Elks. They're able to keep their winning streak alive, keep pushing on. And that brings us to the last game of the week. Nathan Rourke's return to the CFL. And the Winnipeg Blue Bombers spoil it in dramatic fashion. This game is 20-11, but my God, that is very deceiving. This game is not even near that close, as at the end of the game, after the Bombers have essentially won it, they play the most conservative depth, secondary I've ever seen, in order to just try to make this offense go slow and prevent the deep ball. They don't actually always do that, as, my goodness, Chase Bryce gets a little bit of offense near the exit of this game. But
Carter.
Nathan Rourke, 8 for 25, 32%. Ouch. 126 yards. Ouch. 2 interceptions. Ouch. No touchdowns. Ouch. Ow, 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 ow.
I was going to say, did you get in contact with the police from BC? Because there's a fraud alert out there, according to Carter.
My God. Though I will say, realistically, he'll bounce back and he'll be fine. It was just kind of funny for the memes saying that this was, I put up my video saying CFL Canada's fraudulent lion. That's what I called it. Because I thought that was a funny title. Some people got overly butthurt about it, but guys, it's just a YouTube title. Calm down. And then, but that's fine.
I take that was all Lions fans.
People can interpret that however they wish,
okay,
and so
fair enough.
We'll get into this on the line side of things. Chase Bryce, though, 6 for 6, 59 passing yards. So got about half what Rourke did in about 2 minutes. Didn't miss a single throw. Had 9.8 yards on average. Maybe Chase Bryce gets a little more time, eh? That was pretty good. Then on the rushing side of things, William Stanback, 15 rushes, 100 yards for him. Overall decent night. Not able to get that receiving game going, though. Alexander Hollins, 2 receptions, 50 yards. That is the leader of the pack, as Eberhardt with 45 yards. Then 41 for Justin McInnes. Multiple other targets for McInnes, where Nathan Rourke was just nowhere near the mark. Sean White is 1 for 1 on his field goal attempt. Only hits a 23-yarder. The BC Lions with an opportunity to kick a bit of a longer field goal, but BC Lions, rather than trying to put up points on the board, are a little bit more concerned on keeping Sean White's his Iron Man streak in terms of him not missing kicks alive, which, if you ask me, I think is stupid. But not in the sense of that his streak is stupid, but that you're actively throwing points away just to keep a streak alive that doesn't really mean anything unless you're winning games, but I digress. If we go on to the defensive side of things for the BC Lion, top tacklers of the game, Verga with 10 tackles himself. Lee would have 4 tackles, 1 interception. Peters and LA with 4 tackles each. Then Tahima with 2 sacks. And I do not see anything else here on the BC Lions side of things. We move on to the Winnipeg side of things. Zach Calero's 23 for 31, 288 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 9.3 yards on average. Brady Oliveira, 10 rushes, 78 yards, an average of 7.8 yards, naturally. With as long as the 25 yards, able to get some good rushing near the end of the game. Johnny Augustine also able to put up 22 yards on just 4 rushes. Good performance by him at the end of the game to just wind this clock down. Chris Strevler able to punch that in for a touchdown in short yardage. On the receiving side of things, Nick Dembski with the game that he's been waiting for. 109 yards for him, 6 receptions, isn't constantly dropping the ball, and 1 touchdown for him. Good performance for him. Kenny Lawler comes back. 4 receptions for him, 54 yards, not too bad. Ontario Wilson continues to be able to pick up a bit of points on each of these. 43 yards receiving on 3 receptions, and overall just a decent performance by this receiving core, and not enough for Winnipeg with the strong defense they've been playing. Sergio Castillo goes 2 on 3 attempts, one of them hitting the uprights and bouncing straight back out. His longest being 43 yards. And so I don't know if maybe Castillo's just really, really used to having at least a little bit of wind, and maybe him being in a dome just kind of messes it up a little. I'm not sure. Think it'd be easier, but I don't know. Maybe as a kicker, you're just conditioned for that, and the dome maybe gets in the way of that. Top tacklers of the game for the Winnipeg side of things. Jones with 5 tackles, followed by Nichols with 4 tackles as well as 1 interception. Griffin the second with 4 tackles, and then there would be a fumble recovery by it's funny. It says fumble recovery here by Shane Gauthier, but this is the one where they actually would eventually rule that BC recovers that football, although I'm not going to lie, I thought that was the wrong call. I was positive Shane Gauthier was on top of that. If you watch the replay, that's to me, it looks like he gets on that. But I digress. Maybe they ruled it inconclusive, so BC just keeps the ball. 1 sack for Woods, as well as a sack for Willie Jefferson. He really swings around on that one, tries to get that ball out. Good attempt by Willie Jefferson. We're talking about fun moments of the game, though. So Flintloft with a punt that goes all the way up, hits the scoreboard, and Ben Major with a fantastic call on the official side of things with ball hit the scoreboard. That was pretty odd. We're gonna redo the play. Just something that you know that you're gonna be seeing in those TSN top 10s moving forward. Just an absolutely hilarious moment. Very much kind of on par with, I can't remember the name of the referee, but in the NHL when he gave 2 guys penalties and he's like, "You can't do that."
We're fighting.
No, you're thinking of Wes McCauley. I'm talking about where the ref was like, "You can't do that. These 2 guys 5 minutes for fighting." So you're thinking of Wes McCauley, where he's like, "Number 4, 5 minutes for fighting," and it just does like the thing with his hands. Not quite that, but Ben Major having a little bit of fun there. Love to see a little bit of something to smile about when it comes to the officials, because usually it's stuff to complain about. Overall, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Winnipeg dominates this game as BC gets shut out the first 3 quarters of this game. It really looked like it was going to be a repeat of that game in Winnipeg. Winnipeg shuts out BC 7 consecutive quarters this year. Until BC, after Winnipeg had almost given up, almost just kind of took their foot off the gas near the end because they were at a point in the game where they could coast. They were able to grab themselves a field goal, and then a touchdown with a 2-point conversion, because why not? As Katoy will pick up that 2-point conversion, though. Sean White, though, again, with a 23-yarder. For Winnipeg, absolutely massive game with Calgary losing earlier in the week, with Winnipeg winning. Winnipeg ties with Calgary in points. However, they win the tiebreaker because they have that already won against Calgary. So they go to third in the West. Rick?
Carter, I have some upsetting news for you. Dalton Schoen has been extended on the 6th game.
I'm not going to lie, I kind of expected that.
And Cedric Wheatfall has gone to the PR.
To the PR?
Practice roster.
Oh, practice roster, yeah. No, it's one of those things with the addition of Lucky Whitehead and keeping him a little bit longer on the main roster here, which we're very happy about. Nearly kind of fumbled a little bit around with that first return there. However, afterwards, kind of able to get back into his mojo a little bit. So we were pretty pleased with Lucky Whitehead's performance as a returner. Winnipeg continues their fantastic downfield coverage on kickoff as well as punt. As their punt team, so excellent performance there. With BC, man, it does not look good. Nathan Rourke comes in completely, I mean, for lack of better word, he shits the bed, and so
you know what's
it's
even
one of
more
those things
interesting?
where he'll figure it out, but it's not gonna look good. Look, what was that, Rick?
I was gonna say what's even more interesting is I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check this. I'm pretty sure BC has now.
They've lost 4 consecutive.
Going back to week 6 is the last time that they've won.
Ouch.
If you include that tie between Saskatchewan and Ottawa, Saskatchewan hasn't won in 4 games either.
Yeah, that's not good.
This is why Winnipeg is making ground. And same with
Winnipeg
Calgary.
is making serious ground, and this will be very, very. And one of the things that's going to be really, really important is Winnipeg's series against Saskatchewan. As if Winnipeg is somehow able to go in and win both of those games, we're looking about Winnipeg having the tiebreaker against the entire top of the West Division: Saskatchewan, Calgary, and BC. All of them, and that is very crucial. If Saskatchewan wins one of those games, then Winnipeg doesn't have the tiebreaker. But, I mean, Winnipeg's got some momentum right now. Although Saskatchewan still looks very, very good. Trevor Harris is back, so definitely going to be a tough game when we get to Labor Day and later on the Banjo.
The interesting note, if you take all the teams and put them in one table, from 2nd in the league all the way down to 9th, it's all separated. Every team is separated by 1 win.
Yep.
That is crazy.
That is absolutely crazy.
You know what's going to be happening come the fall, Carter?
What's going to be happening?
I will be on Draft Watch because if our season's going to continue to go down the shitta,
you got to see who you're going to be drafting.
I'm going to be doing some Draft Watch, which it's already going to be interesting because we have Tula's brother, we have Powell. Do we add Rourke to the cupboard or do we go with the need? But we will be all on the Draft Watch coming to the channel this fall.
Will that be on this channel or will that be on Ticats Talk?
That will be on Ticats channel because I'm going to
check that out in the comment section down below. You can check out Rick's
because I'm pretty sure CFL. I want to know. I'm not sure when it is.
Also,
so first week of October is trade deadline week in the CFL. So we will be able, it usually goes first 5 days or so. Last year it was on October 4th at 5 p.m. on the Wednesday. But the odd time, there's not many trades that happen. But by then, we will be having, as Zach likes to call, the Moose Watch. We're going to have the Draft Watch.
There you go. That's right. That's right. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video. A lot of good stuff that we chat about here. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm asking nicely. May not ask nice next time. Who knows? So, make sure you do that.
Interesting thing.
Yes.
I'm not going to spoil the surprise.
Uh-huh.
Every game next week but one has some interesting news.
Oh, yeah.
But you'll have to tune in to our
preview. Yes,
we find out what each of those pieces of interesting news it is.
This at 12:30 at night. Technically now the Tuesday, but still feels like the Monday because it's the Monday evening for me. I haven't gone to bed yet, so therefore it's not the next day. So then,
who needs sleep these days? Let's be realistic.
We'll record the next one tomorrow, and so. Whatever day this video comes out, the preview for the next week comes out the next day, and then the following day.
Will have, I promise you, we will have my interesting, regardless if we have a guest or not, I will have our interesting Ticat review, because I was promised by someone I have to get mad and I have to rant for this video.
And we also, big thanks to Ryan, who does some writing at 3 Down Nation, also has his Go Stamps Go podcast, which is on dormant right now. Big thanks
I didn't even know he worked for 3 Down Nation.
Well, he had done some articles. He had talked about it on the show.
Oh. Huh.
And also, I saw some stuff had posted around about it. So, big thanks to Ryan for joining us for our Calgary video, which should be coming out in a few days. Calgary Stampeders mid-season report, so make sure you check that out. And like Rick mentioned, our Ticats one will be coming out just a day following that, whenever that is. And then also, big announcement here, we will be having an interview with Nelson Hakovich, the creator of the CFL on College Football 25. He is the community creator that you guys have been seeing getting posted all over Twitter, if you guys have seen it. You guys can make sure to go check out his Twitter to see exactly everything that he's all about and exactly how you can download his teams. Rick also has a video on how to download Nelson's teams over on Ticats Talk Network. Make sure you guys check that out if you're wondering how to download the CFL teams. It's actually
not on that channel, but I will link it in the video.
Oh,
it's on my gaming channel, but I will link it in the Nelson video once that video comes out.
Awesome. That would be lovely. So I believe it's called FM Fan Gaming. YT, yes.
2 minor things. Friday, Carter will be at the Winnipeg game, so I will be live streaming it on my Ticats Talk network. Also, Carter, we have a walk coming up on the Saturday. So not this Saturday, the Saturday of Labor Day weekend. We have some CFL fans that are going to be doing a walk from BMO Stadium to Ticat Stadium in a full day. So don't forget, and he's going to yell at me if I pronounce this, so I'm going to try to pronounce it correctly. If you go to
Connor Soubé,
good old, I just got to pull it up, Sauve Connor, all one word, on X. His pinned comments, they are taking donations for CFL Fights Cancer, and it is a 65-kilometer walk. They're trying to get me to do the whole walk, so I haven't decided yet if I'm doing the full 65K or not.
Do it.
I will be bringing videos on Ticat Talk Network on Shorts of my journey
check
that day.
That out. But anyways, one last thing I do want to say before we finish this out. If you guys have any questions for Nelson about exactly anything in regards to the CFL teams in College Football 25, make sure you guys comment that down below on any of our stuff. You can message us on Twitter, on Instagram, absolutely anything. So make sure you guys do that if you have any questions regarding any of that. The players are not named as they're not able to be named. because of the NIL agreement with the NCAA and the way that game works. However, the players are rated properly, and they have the numbers to represent exactly what their CFL player is. Yep.
2 other minor notes. If you start a dynasty, you can go in and rename the players.
That is true.
Also, Nelson is also currently working on a Madden 25 CFL.
Yes. That is also true. Although I will say, from what I've heard from Nelson, it is a little bit more limited in Madden 25. But lots of good stuff coming out from him. We'll have a full interview with him. If you have any questions for Nelson, make sure to put that in the comment section down below.
Also, I will be making an appearance on Wednesday on the Elks Herd.
That is right. The Elks Call podcast on the Elks Herd over with Scout. So make sure you guys check that out. Gonna have some good
that is it for me
content over there. So make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm asking for the third time now. I'm asking for the third time, so please do so. Hit the little notification bell, helps out a ton. And we will see you guys next time with all the other great
peace, love, and prosperity, people.
Peace, love, and positivity, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure you guys take care.